If you want to make scoring the basketball easier, this is the guy to watch. His name is Sasha Vezenkov, and after winning the EuroLeague MVP and then playing a season in the NBA, he's back with Olympiacos where he once scored 275 points on 26 dribbles. Yeah, I'm talking that level of efficiency. So this is a guy who isn't super athletic at all. He doesn't have a deep bag, so to speak, and many times he lets the game come to him. Yet he won MVP at the second best league in the world and is making millions and millions of dollars to score the ball. So how does he do this? We'll break it all down and show you how you can begin to implement this as well. So first off is mindset. And if you look at his stats and his ISO possessions, he's insanely efficient. He can get buckets one-on-one. Yet rather than his thought process being, hey, this works, let me try to do it more, it's still oriented towards how efficient he can be, which is not easy in itself. But being a pretty high volume scorer and being this efficient in every single category of the game is nuts. So we'll go over a few of these. First is how he scores off the catch. And I'd say the simple but most essential component of this that I have to bring up is his shooting ability. This really opens up a lot of what he does because as defenders are worried about him shooting, it creates long, intentful closeouts, which are going to be much easier to attack for him. So in short, if you want to make getting to the bucket easier, invest time and effort into your shooting ability. Now, when he is attacking these, you'll notice how creative he is with these little shifts, where he's getting this defender to anticipate him driving the other direction so that now he has a better angle to attack. And this can even be a super slight shift, but it works wonders. Same thing here with pass fakes, where he fakes this one more pass to get this defender here, and now is constantly playing with what I call a half advantage. Or in other words, this defender is on his hip, simply from throwing in something like a pass fake. And then of course shot fakes too. Something so basic, but that most players don't use nearly enough. Sasha is crazy patient with these, doesn't rush, will most times, once again, create even just a bit of an advantage to work with. Or other times get fully by his defender by scaring the defender with the threat of hitting a three and then going right by. Then on the flip side, sometimes he'll get a head start by stampeding this catch. Or in other words, getting moving before the ball even gets there, which once again throws off defenders' timing and gives him the advantage he needs to make something happen. Now, as you can see, part of what goes into Vezenkov's magic is getting open on the perimeter and creating these long closeouts, and much of which can be boiled down to identifying and stretching out 2v1s. In other words, as your teammates are attacking, coming off ball screens, whatever, there are constantly 2v1s like this being created where one defender must play between two. A good off-the-ball player like Sasha sees these right away and then finds ways to make it as difficult as possible on this defender. For instance, as the big rolls here, Sasha's defender is looking to play between two. So he moves up towards the ball to extend this space and make him commit, in this case to the big. Or here, once again, we have a defender who doesn't want to leave the ball, and if he stays here, it makes it easier for him to guard too. So he gets up out of there and finds space into a nice closeout. Now, if you're looking for these on the court, I'd say the most common one is a lift, where you have a teammate coming off a ball screen, creating a situation where this low defender is playing between two and to tag the roller. So what can we do to create the most space? Yep, lift up a bit, which actually makes it an easier pass too most times. And notice too, before moving on, that he never stops. Even if he doesn't get the ball, even if a teammate misses him when he's open, he doesn't get in his feelings or discouraged. He keeps moving because he knows more advantages will open up. But on the flip side of this, he's also willing to stay put to maintain spacing for his teammates, which ultimately will help him too. Next, let's talk about scoring off cuts and screens. First off, you'll notice that he's constantly changing speeds, which is something we don't think about much off the ball. Most of the time when you think change of speed, right? What do you think? Ball handling, right? Yeah, you're off the dribble, maybe you change speed, you go slow to fast. Changing speeds and throwing off the defender's mindset rather than just playing at one speed and being predictable is just as important off ball as it is when you have the ball in your hand. Quick example here, he's coming up for a go screen, right? He starts maybe slow and then out of nowhere just picks it up and sprints out of there. Now, even if he gets this much space on his defender, it's gonna be that much more effective. Maybe on a get right here, I pass to him here, I walk it down and then play off of that, okay? And you'll see the best players who are off ball, Steph Curry, Tyrese Maxey, all the shooters that you have in the NBA are constantly changing speeds off ball. So I want you guys to make that a focus. So he's very often slowing down to lull defenders to sleep and then bursting out into a flare screen or a backdoor for easy points. He also throws in some fakes, like here, faking the lift and then going backdoor, or even faking going to the ball and then cutting from there. Again, this is something simple that 99% of players don't do well. In terms of knowing when to cut, he's incredibly consistent with the wing or baseline. In terms of knowing when to cut, he's incredibly consistent with the wing baseline rule, which is a pretty easy guideline that I'll give players to help them understand their opportunities to cut.
3 best times to score off of a cut. Number 1, I would say, if you get a really good drive baseline, what's going to be open? A 45 cut. Why? I turn my head this way, I'm looking towards the ball, it's human nature, cutting from there, okay? Another one, you get downhill this way or this way. What is open? Most of the time, a baseline cut, right? Because again, everyone's looking towards me, you can get this ghost cut back there. The last one that I would say that I actually saw a few of you guys do really well is like a secondary cut. So in other words, I hit you on a cut, okay? Secondary defender steps over. If you get another cut going down this way, a lot of time it's a wide open layup. So if you see your teammate cutting, maybe they catch it, and you follow that cut up with another cut, it could create an even better opportunity for you.
So when he's situated in the corner, as soon as a player gets downhill from the wing or the 45 here, he's looking to cut baseline, because the defender's first instinct is to stop the attack which is happening in front of them. So they lose track of their man on that cut, and at the end of the day, it's just attacking another 2v1, right? Similar as a 45 cut on a baseline attack, so the opposite of this. And although Olympiacos didn't get into that many baseline drives this year, what he is great at is seeing when the ball goes into the post, noticing that everyone's eyes turn that way, and then 45ing from there for an easy bucket. Oh yeah, and then the simple dribble at cut, where if a teammate dribbles at you, that backdoor is often there. And then overall, he's just really consistent with understanding when the defense goes into high alert on the ball and taking advantage of that. You'd think defenses will adjust to a guy who scores a bulk of his points off cuts, but as soon as someone gets a paint touch, or even when someone gets the ball on a cut, it's human nature to focus on stopping that. And he'll even help manipulate the court here to do this, like directing his teammate to pass to an open big, understanding that this will divert attention from him and allow him to get open on this flash. Oh, and lastly is being able to finish off of these. Once you get the hang of it, finding cuts isn't rocket science, but being able to convert buckets like this where you have to catch, turn, and quickly get the ball up with the chasing defender, that ain't easy, and that's something that 90% of hoopers don't work on. Next, I want to talk a bit about his shooting, which is actually pretty unorthodox. We'll start by looking at his base or his footwork, which is rarely perfect, but he's crazy adaptable here and able to shoot with even narrow feet, a pretty big forward lean, and then even something like this. So just something to prepare for. He's also great at finding rhythm and doing that quickly with a foot lift like this in situations where he may naturally lose rhythm due to a bad pass or a fumble. Or even when the pass is high and he has to jump, catch, and get into an exaggerated dip to time everything up. And honestly, he already has a super exaggerated dip of the ball and his body here, which most coaches would coach out of him, but clearly works pretty damn well. And then lastly here, this dude is unbothered on contested shots. Hands in his face, rear view contest, 3 defenders flying at him. It don't matter, he's dialed. And think about the long closeouts this creates too, with defenders knowing this. Next, we got transition, which is simple and quick to cover, but very important. First off, he's really good at seeking out opportunities for advantage situations, where the offense will have more players in an attack position than the defense. So maybe it's off a bad shot or a turnover. Regardless, he has a great feel for when he can get out ahead of the defense to get easy buckets. But of course, it takes the effort to actually get down the court, and even though Sasha clearly isn't the fastest, he's busting his ass over and over to get down the floor, and it gives him easy buckets over and over again. Like, let's be honest, how many players are really making this full speed sprint from half court to get this easy bucket? Not many. And when you combine that with a great feel for positioning and putting himself in the right position on 3v2s and 2v1s, it makes for a great transition player. And I think one of my favorite things about Vezenkov overall is that he just covers a bit of everything. He gets hella offensive boards and putbacks to put even more points on the scoreboard. He defends pretty well for not being a great athlete, and so much more goes into him just being an absolute winner. And overall, this is what I like about watching EuroLeague. There are guys like Vezenkov who may not be the most athletic, but they just find ways to get it done at an unprecedented level, and they're so fun to study. Combine that with truly special scorers, incredible tactics, and insane environments, it's a must watch. So if you're looking to watch this upcoming season, check the description for how you can get a discount on the annual package and watch the entire season for super cheap.